Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Janelle Rayburn here of Now Chat Show. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're all doing well within this lockdown period. Hey, I'm just going to wait for a few guys to join me. Hey, guys. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, guys. It's Janelle Rayburn here from Now Chat Show. And as you know, Kaz and I have been doing a series of lives every single Sunday while we're on this so-called lockdown, just to stay connected, really. So tonight I am really pleased and excited by the guest that we have. She's not only a phenomenal woman, but she's an amazing friend of mine, somebody who I met probably about 4 years ago. And the connection that we've forged has been amazing. So she has just requested the live. Tanesha Westcarr is going to be joining us. I'm going to add her now, so stay right there. Hey, Tanesha. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. This is my first time joining in. I was like, do not mess up. Don't mess up. Don't mess up.
I know the setup has been like, you've got to get it all right. You've got to get set up, you know, make sure the background is right, you know.
Yeah, I was like, just keep my head in motion, you know, just like in the right place.
I'm just gonna pin what we're discussing here. So we are discussing the importance of identity. So I'm just going to pin that for our viewers. And while I'm doing that, tell me, how have you been, beautiful Tanesha, in this lockdown? How, in this whole madness, how have you been? How have you been coping?
Well, there's two sides of it, right? So the first side is I've been busier now that I'm in lockdown than I have been any time before. And that's simply because there's no more travel time, right? So you find that you can have like Zoom calls back to back, you know, your work, all these deadlines. It's just been really, really busy, especially with the stuff that I've been doing with the diaspora as well. But
Sure.
I think acclimatizing to being at home, I'm an outdoors type of person, right? I love to be out. I like being in different spaces. It makes me creative and it helps me to compartmentalize the different things that I do. And having to be at home every single day, sharing the space with different people, it's been... Yeah, I have to get used to it. You know, I'm still getting used to it. So there is still some type of like coping that you have to do to just adjust to the transformations that are happening. But at the same time, I've been really busy with work and diaspora activities and stuff like that. So it's kind of balanced it out.
Okay, so you mentioned kind of a bit about what you've been doing, but just explain. You do so much. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna steal the limelight from you in terms of telling us about yourself. But honestly, you know, when I met you, I was absolutely blown away by all the things that you'd achieved, and certainly at such a young age. You're a phenomenal individual, and you're somebody I count in my life as a really important person, you know, in terms of your strength, your encouragement, your guidance, and your vision. So for the viewers out there watching, tell us a bit about what you do. Hey, Ebs.
Hey, I was just gonna say hi, Ebony. I see some people joining. Welcome. Thank you so much, Janelle, for having me on Now Chat Show. Big up to Kaz as well.
Big up, Kaz, I missed you. Kaz, I miss you.
I see Dwayne. I see Ebony. Shout out. So everyone, my name is Tanesha Westcarr. I am the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council leader in the South UK. I'm also an events manager at a university institution. I'm also doing my master's as well in international development there. I'm an MSc. I'm a mom. I've got a 5-year-old. So shout out to everybody. It's Mother's Day in Jamaica.
Happy Mother's Day, by the way. Yep.
And so, I mean, there's so much different things. Oh, thank you. I'm seeing some beautiful comments, but yeah, I do all these different things. But I think my dominant hats right now is doing my 9-to-5 work as an events manager at the institution. Also working at studying at university, doing my master's in international development. Being one of the regional leaders here in the UK on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council and the main council, because we simultaneously sit on 2 different boards. And yeah, there's so many other things, you know. I've got a business.
So, I mean, how do you fit it all in, Tanesha? How do you do it?
Time management. Listen, I tell people this all the time. I love everything that I do. I'm big on living a purpose-driven life, and there's every part, every facet of what I do, I wake up intentionally wanting to do it, you know. And there's no force, there's no pressure. I do it with joy, and I appreciate the different forms of contribution that I can make in society.
Well, I can certainly tell you that myself and so many other people out there appreciate you, appreciate your contribution, and appreciate, you know, what you do. So we're going to talk a bit about culture and identity. Many of you who know me out there know that, you know, I'm of Jamaican heritage. In fact, my mother is from Jamaica and my father is from Trinidad, so I'm of Caribbean heritage. I'm a former Miss Jamaica UK, and I am passionate about my roots. Look. I came prepared. A little plug for Puma. I mean, it wasn't intentional. That's really what it's about here, right? But, you know, I'm passionate about my roots. I'm passionate about my identity. I'm passionate about where I come from. It's such an important part of who I am, what I'm about, and for so many others out there as well who, you know, who maybe have been born here like myself, or maybe like you know, you were born in Jamaica, but you were raised here. It's so important to have an understanding of where you're coming from, your heritage, and everything that's brought you to the place that you are. So I would just want to actually say on Miss Jamaica UK, shout out to June, big up to Dr. June Daly, because, you know, it's from entering Miss Jamaica UK that I have just flourished and really kind of just discovered myself. That led me on a journey that I'm still on today. So June, big up to you. You're a massive advocate for Jamaica. You fly the flag all the time, and you know, we appreciate you. And on Mother's Day as well. So happy Mother's Day, International Mother's Day. But yeah, it's important to me. So we're going to talk about identity and why it's important. Why is it important? Why is it important?
Well, it's the cornerstone of who we are. I think that is the shortest answer. It is the building blocks. It's our foundation tool, you know. It's our anchor. It's the thing that sets us apart. It's our historical knowledge. It's the inscription of, you know, all the things that fabricated us to be the people who we are today. And the more entrenched you are, the more knowledgeable you are about your about the different things that you are here to do and what helped to make you, right, to create you. I think it's the more impact you can make going forward. So many times we try and build forward without knowing who we were, and you have to take a few steps back, connect with your culture, and that empowers you, it strengthens you, and it helps to focus you and ground you, right? So I'm very, very passionate about identity, and even more so cultural identity, because I believe strongly that we have to take those historical steps and walk in some of the path of our fathers and grandfathers. That history is something that grounds us and helps to make us more impactful going forward.
That's right. And, you know, when we posted that we were going to be talking to you and talking about some of the work that you do, obviously I quoted the, you know, the great Pan-Africanist Marcus Mackay Garvey, you know, all the knowledge that he gave to us as a people, not just as an African people, but as a global humanity. All of that knowledge that he gave us is so vital. And, you know, he said, and I paraphrase, but he said, a people without knowledge of their roots and identity is like, you know, knowledge of that is like a tree without roots. If you don't know, just like you said, if you don't know where you're coming from, how on earth can you know what your direction is to be in life? You've got no sense of direction, right?
I think you just continuously pivot different places, being, you know, pushed and prodded instead of really taking control of your life. I think we feel most empowered when we are in control of the different directions, in control of our purpose, in control of our passion, in control of the expression, right? We want to own something, and the first thing before owning any person, anything, is to own who you are for yourself.
Own yourself. 100%. You've got to own it. That's so true. I mean, the first time, I guess my identity has always been intertwined with my life and who I am, you know, growing up even though I was born here, growing up in London, my cultural identity was always a part of me ever since, you know, from before I was born, I would say. You know, I was very close to my grandmother. She was the only the only grandparent that I actually knew, my mother's mother, and she was Jamaican. And boy, let me tell you, Miss Ivy Duncan, wherever you are, you know, I know you're looking down at me. I salute you. You know, continue to rest in eternal power. That woman was such an inspiration to me. Her strength, her stoicism, her wisdom, her power, her beauty, everything about her, you know. And you know, she's not with me anymore, but I feel her
legacy, right? She's left a legacy. It feels like I'm still interacting with her now, and this is the beauty of heritage. That's it. Right now, I get an introduction of who that person was just through the interaction I have with you. So she has deposited something in you. Her legacy lives on, and this is the importance of the cultural transfer that we have, and why it was important for me coming from Jamaica, even though I've lived most of my life here in the UK. To stay grounded in my roots and to help people, as many people as possible, to engage with that culture, connect with it, because so many of our young people and even some of the older people just haven't connected or reconnected to that history and that heritage. And not only does it anchor you, as I mentioned before, it gives you the direction, it gives you the thing that sets you apart. It is part of your uniqueness, you know. So I'm really just excited to be here to share on your platform and to speak about something that's so important right now.
It is really important, and you're right, it gives you that direction, but it grounds you. So I remember the first time I went to Jamaica, I was probably about 8 years old. Now you think about an 8-year-old young child, you know, brought up in the UK, never been in an environment like that before, who knows what to expect. And you know, when you change, you kind of, when you thrust children into a new environment, a lot of the time it can have an adverse effect. And remember, Jamaica was so different to anything else I'd encountered in the UK. Now, I remember my grandma saying to me, when we touch down, you're going to feel that wall of heat when you get off the plane, hit you. I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest. Got off that plane and I touched, and that air touched me. It hit me like a wall, warm. And I felt it. And now in later life, I absolutely acknowledge that, you know what, it's not just the kind of physical heat hitting me. What hit me was all of the energy from my ancestors and my history and my past that came and embraced and engulfed me, consumed me as soon as I stepped off that plane as an 8-year-old. And I remember that like it was like yesterday. And that stayed with me forever. I enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoyed the smell. I enjoyed the smells, the food, the sights, the music, my family. I just enjoyed being outside and everything. I actually felt like home, really, as an 8-year-old. So I often say, you know, even though I was born in the UK, my spirit was born there. I felt like that's my spiritual home. I felt like I'd arrived. And ever since then, like,
I think that's why we connected, Jay, because, you know, like Jamaica is definitely my spiritual home. And I feel like the more we connect as a people with ourselves and with that greater power, that thing that exists beyond the physical, we will start to navigate the different places in our life, and then we start working with the energies, right? It becomes organic and organic flow and organic transfer. What you were hit with when you hit Jamaica, that cultural capital.
Hi, June. Sorry, June just joined us. June, I picked you up. You're sitting now. Hello, Dr. June.
Big up to Miss Jamaica UK.
I'm the president. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, but it's that huge cultural capital that we have, you know, and it's strong, it's intense, it's empowering, and it meets you right where you are. And I feel like that is an expression of the Jamaican culture. Anywhere you go, when you interact with a Jamaican, a proud Jamaican, you get to see that true heritage in the way that they speak, how the nostalgia they express about this place. And I think that is something beautiful. It's something it's so beautiful. Just don't see with any country.
Exactly, Dana, you are absolutely right. So Dana's just put a few pins up there. She's put cultural capital and she's put that organic transfer. You know, so we know what cultural capital is, but talk about it a little. What does that actually mean? You know, what does it mean?
Right. So, I mean, everyone, we hear about Jamaica, we see Jamaica, we might know the Usain Bolt, you know, the lightning and all of that kind of stuff. But when you start talking about reggae music, when you start talking about, you know, jerk chicken, when you start talking about rice and peas, when you start talking about, you know, the different types of music or arts, when you start mentioning names like Miss Lou, you know, when you start talking about pantomime, there's so many things. When you start talking about national heroes, you know, who's Sam Sharp, what did he do for us? What did Nanny and the Maroons do for us? Why should I feel empowered to be associated with these different things? When you have that knowledge, you have the freedom not just of expression, but the freedom to change the world, the freedom to express your local.
Tanesha, I have to stop you there. You just said, when you have that knowledge, have the freedom to change the world. That is profound, because this is exactly what we're talking about. When you have that knowledge of self and where you're coming from and your identity and your culture, you can do anything. Because guess what? Everything that you were ever capable of and ever possible in any dream that you had, it's not out there.
It's in here. Yeah, it's tapping in and giving it that permission, the permission to express itself, the permission to interact with other people. And I believe like attracts like, the same way you and I connected years ago, and here we are many years later sharing a platform, you know. It's that organic transfer of that cultural capital that I spoke about. And you don't have to use many words because you feel it. You see it, you recognize your own. Do you know what I mean?
It's like electricity running through your veins. You know, there's nothing like it.
You know, when you are sure it's like, it's certainly there, it's when it causes you to do or be more. When you interact with that thing that says it's not okay anymore to be how you were. It's not okay anymore to settle for what you settled for. Now you have to become that brighter version of yourself. Now you have more to impact. Now, and that's what I love about the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council community that we are building. It's giving you that network. It's enabling expression. People from different sectors, whether you're in health, education, arts, environment, you know, whatever your thing is, this platform gives you the expression while also culturally connecting, you know. Like, come as you are, but let's make you better. And we're not going to make you better by doing outward things. We're going to make you better by connecting with your own inside, your internal,
with your inside self. Because one of the things that I realized, the more I delved into where I'm from and the more I delved into my culture, and it's, you know, we're talking about Jamaica because obviously you're the global you know, youth advisor, the diaspora youth advisor, but we're not only talking about, it's not only that for me, it's also my father's side, and I've definitely connected with his, you know, his side, and been to Trinidad, been to Tobago, and absolutely feel home there too, and that sense of belonging, and that sense of I come from somewhere, and you know, I can celebrate those who have come before me. But being exposed to my culture and delving deeper, let's talk about Jamaica, delving deeper into my Jamaican culture, one thing that struck me that I saw, but maybe I didn't see around me every day.
Sorry.
Hey, Tammy.
Welcome.
You know, that I didn't see around me every day in my regular life was the greatness as a people. The greatness, the people that I came into contact with, the you know, just being in Jamaica and seeing people like myself every day, seeing people on the TV, seeing people do great things, seeing people create, seeing people strive for better. That greatness, it gave me the sense of, you know what, this is where I come from. This is my lineage.
And how powerful is having that lineage? And Teresa, you know, if you continue to teach me how to cook, I will definitely advise you on these matters.
A butter or no butter today?
Can we swap?
Yes.
Dana, loving all your feedback as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana, for joining us. Thank you all for joining us, guys. You know, this is a conversation. So anybody who has a question, anybody who wants to interject with anything, please feel free. We'll pick up your comments.
Hello, Corey. See you there.
Yes, Corey. Hello. So, you know, I often think about, I think we all do, especially during this time. You know, we've all had to go inside to reflect, really. We can't go outside, so we kind of go inside to reflect on who we are and our purpose and our identity and where we're heading and all of that. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of reflection like many others. And something came to me in advance of our, you know, in advance of our conversation today that said, if you think about a tree, yeah, you think about a tree is planted, and a tree is in a process of constant growth, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't nurture and nourish and water the roots, what happens to the tree? What happens to the tree?
It dies. It will start to wither and die. Mm-hmm.
In fact, you're right. It doesn't just die instantly. It withers. And dies. And that's the same for us as people. You know, if we don't water those roots, if we don't fertilize those roots, if we don't get in touch with those roots and dig deep and understand those roots, our growth will stop, our growth will cease, and we will wither and die. And, you know, the reason I say that is because I kind of want to link it to some of the things that we see going on in the UK, of course, with our young people. You know, we're not going to talk too deeply about it because the conversation isn't about that, but I think it's important that we mention it, because what I see going on, this is my opinion anyway, is a massive identity crisis. There's a massive identity crisis, and that leads to a lack of self-love and self-appreciation, right?
Yeah, and it's anchored also in a feeling of family, because we don't have these various avenues that can guide but also govern. Because remember, it's young people. It means you don't have it all figured out. It means that direction is still necessary. And, you know, I think perhaps in our messaging of empowerment, we have forgotten the flip side of it, which is the guidelines and the governance. That is essential. They won't thank you right now. You get that thank you later on. I can tell you the personal experience, you know, that some of these guidance is needed. And it used to be back in the day, it was a community thing, you know. You think so you could have gone down the road and make Miss so-and-so, Miss Susie, deal in a uniform after a certain time. When Miss Susie don't tell you that she gonna get for your mother, right? You run by your yard and run left your shoes. Trust me.
What happens when your mom finds out?
Accountability. Do you know what I mean? To not just your parents. So even if there was a lack of representation in the home, you were being parented, you had that guidance from so many people within the community, and it was a community's responsibility to raise our children. Nowadays, you see people, they're turning the blind eye, you know, and I think perhaps somewhere along the way, in our messaging of empowerment, which is extremely important, we forgot about the village that needs to raise the child. Do you know what I mean? And it means that sometimes when we see our people going wayward, we have to now think of a new fabric of family, right? Because you have to change with the times. So if you look at the gang culture and, you know, these different measures that are out there, it's because that sense of family, that sense of belonging, that sense of identity isn't strong enough. So we have to create these different platforms that make young people feel like they belong, but that they're also accountable. And I think that's what we're missing. It's the balance. We want to empower you, but we also want you to know there is a level of accountability, and that accountability isn't to stunt you, it's to make you thrive. But sometimes you need to be delayed, not denied, just delayed, before we can move forward. So it's that family, it's that community-ness, and it's also being able to stand up for what's right and wrong. Yeah,
that's right. So on that point, you know, you mentioned about this sense of belonging, and that is a reason why there is this kind of, among certain young people, this gravitational pull for them towards the kind of gang culture and the street culture and whatever else, because that gives them the sense of belonging, albeit misplaced, but that gives them the sense of belonging. But Dana asked the question, she said, what are some of the practical steps that people can take to start to connect or reconnect? So it's all good and well, you and I sitting here saying you should connect with your roots and blah, blah, blah. But what if you're an 18-year-old?
People gold star on the live here. They don't need a gold star. You need a gold star for that question, then big up yourself anyway you're doing your house, right?
You know, but it's true, isn't it? So I'm an 18-year-old, born in the UK. My grandfather's from Jamaica. I'm in the UK. I got my Snapchat. I got my Insta. I got my
Great
Facebook.
question. Some of these, as much as we appreciate, you know, technology and these different methods for us to stay connected, nothing beats physical connection, right? And the same way we're talking about Jamaica, we have a more impassioned approach to Jamaica because we've actually been there. We've visited, we've tasted and seen that it's good. One of the outcomes of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council is to create these different platform. So it will be like an exchange program, and we'll also have not internships, well, internships will be part of it, placement programs and exchange programs, right? We want people here to go back home, we want people home to come and, you know, broaden their perspectives. We want different programs, different projects that are more specific to sector. Many times our young people just don't have enough to do, so we need to give them things to do, but not necessarily anything to do, things that are going to upskill them, things that are going to engage them, things that are going to be fun, but are also educational. So these are the
also to nurture them, right? It's about nurturing.
Exactly.
You know?
So
because I think that the problem with our society as well is that a lot of the time we demonize young people. We don't try and understand them. We don't try and understand what's missing from them. We don't try and delve deeply into that kind of conversation. And so what you're doing with the Global you know, Youth Council is really important. Tell us, so you've spoken a bit about the Global Youth Council, but tell us a bit more about what it's about and your role in that, because the big things with, you know, supporting the Jamaican government to really encourage people who have Jamaican heritage to connect. So tell us about that Global Youth Council and how it started.
So the council was officially inaugurated at the beginning of February, but we really started to put together what this council would look like at the beginning of 2019. So we've been working, you know, behind the scenes, thinking about what's important to young people, thinking about the different mechanisms to connect with them, thinking about what's important to them, thinking about different vehicles, you know, to use and so forth. One of the ways that we're using right now in connecting with the young people, we've got Quarantine with Purpose, quarantining with a purpose campaign going on all week.
I love that.
Yeah,
I saw you cooking up a storm in that.
You know, I did Fruity Friday. We have Motivational Monday, Mindful Monday, because, you know, as much as we need to, you know, do our different things, we also need to take care of our mind and our mental health. We have Workout Wednesday because we still need to be physical. So these are like practical things that we're doing and just engaging our community.
And it's free, right? This doesn't cost anybody.
100% free. 100% free. Anybody can join. Our target audience is 18 to 35, but we do have people beyond that age who support the young people. Because remember, I said the guidance factor is still important, you know, and we don't want to lose all the benefits of all those people who still have a lot to contribute to the space, right? So you can come on board as a supporter. But when we started the movement at the beginning of last year, we just organically grew. So it started with myself here in the UK. I was the advisor to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade at that time. And, you know, we saw this real need. So it was like a joint approach. The ministry saying, hey, there's this big gulf between second, third, and fourth generation. So those are people with parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents in the What can we do to connect with these people? At the same time, myself here in the diaspora, and I'm sure other people within different regions, we're saying, hey, we want to know more about Jamaica. We want to engage, but we don't see anything that looks like us. Right, because we have some of these diaspora organizations, but they became mundane or outdated, right? And perhaps it's not for lack of them still having the information, but they don't update the vehicles to engage young people.
Yeah, I think you're right. You touched on a really good point, because, you know, I was Joe, hey Joe, I see you there. Joe, Pet, you know, we were part of the Jamaica Future Leaders group many years ago. That's now evolved into jamming. Big up jamming as well. You guys are what, you know, doing amazing things for the Jamaican global diaspora as well. And you know, it was it gave me that real sense of pride and purpose and identity to know that I had a connection to my roots and I was making a difference, and I was actually engaging with, you know, where I'm from. It really filled me with so much pride. I mean, Jo said she thinks work is needed with the first and second generation of Jamaicans, right? In this country, they can facilitate that reconnection, right? With, for example, the 18-year-olds, which was my question to you, is why is it important for an 18-year-old who's got their iPhone and their Snapchat? Who cares? Like,
well, like I said, you can engage with the culture through like the music and so forth, but to really be that will have.
And how do people do that?
Right, so they can contact us info@globaljayouth.com. Info@globaljayouth.com. We also have a membership form as well that can be sent out to everybody. If you go to our Instagram page now, Global JA Youth, you can just one click and you can sign up to become a member. Membership is free as well, and it doesn't matter if you're already part of an organization or whatever. This is just building a global family.
And it's inclusive. It's inclusive. It's all inclusive.
Yeah. You have the only thing we say, right, is that you have Jamaican heritage. And you know what? You even have some people who have bought into the culture, right? You have people who have, they are pro-Jamaica. They want to uplift Jamaica. They want to share Jamaica. You know, they
got friends of Jamaica out there.
Yeah, the friends of Jamaica. You may have had people who, you know, have married into, you know, the Jamaican, family. So it really is inclusive. It doesn't matter what color you are, what size, what shape, what group, whatever. If you have that link to Jamaica, then we want to know more about you. We want to see what skills you have. We want to see how we can engage you in the platform. We want to see if you know something new. We have advocates on the platform. There's a lot of injustice going on right now in the world, in different parts of the world. And our advocates are able to group together, petition stuff. So we do not just the social stuff and the fun stuff. We also do like policy-driven stuff as well. You know, we do
the social stuff and the fun stuff. You guys do it well.
We are on it.
Listen, I've been.
There's so much going on. How can you join? Tell me. Go to.
Well, you know what? It takes me back to the event, one of the last events that you had at the Jamaica High Commission, where it was a full-on party. I'm not even going to pretty it up. It was a full-on party with a DJ and everything.
We did the talk stuff, and then we said, well, listen, it's young people something. We have the DJ. We kept the music clean. Do you know what I mean? We have to respect and honor the environment. But we were also able to just have a good time. You can't have a youth initiative without incorporating fun. There just won't be any sustainability. And for me, massive on sustainability. Anything that I'm doing today has to last at least another 5 or 10 years without me in it. So this whole Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council movement, for me personally, and my passion, my reason, my why, I have a 5-year-old, and I'd love to know that when he grows up, he can be a part of this council and join something that mommy started 15 years ago.
That's touching my heart. I love that.
It's a legacy project. I know that our young people need a platform like this. It's something that's real. It's changing lives. We say it sounds funny. We talk about, you know, the fun parts, but it's changing people's lives. There are people who came on board who, you know, weren't so well connected. They have developed their network. There are people who didn't have, you know, any.
I just want not to cut you, but I want to talk about that importantly, because you said develop the network. So I think that is one of the massive benefits of joining a community like that. You know, I asked the controversial question, I'm the 18-year-old, what do I care? But actually, it's about joining and having that network and connecting with that network, because if I want some advice on, I don't know, what course to take, or, you know, if I need to do a work placement somewhere, or if I want somebody to mentor me,
We've got a whole,
so you
we've got a whole cohort of students, even the Jamaican national students who come over each year. We align with them immediately so that they still feel like they're home, you know, even though they're away from home. It might be, there was one year, you know, one of the young people said, listen, I'm coming over here with my family. I'm going to need, you know, where's the nursery nearby? Like, she was able to speak to me, being someone who's, you know, local to the space. So it's just practical stuff. Where can I buy some yam, some sweet potato, some plantain,
some saltfish?
for them just want to feel like so they can still feel a little bit of home. You know, even that I'm talking, the people, them is feeling confident in knowing that I can speak properly, but I can also integrate my culture, because that makes me more dynamic.
Do you know what?
Dynamic.
Much more dynamic, much more interesting. You just reminded me of something. So when I said, you know, my being Jamaican has always been part of who I am, without me even realizing it from childhood. I remember as a child, you know, my granny only spoke patois, right? So I remember as a child not even being able to distinguish that patois was a different language to English. I thought everybody understood patois. Seriously. In my childhood, it was that much part of me that I thought everybody could understand it. And it's only as I grew up I realized that it's a different language, it's a separate language. And yes, for those of you who are doubting, patois is a language. I'm a linguist, I've studied languages, and I can tell you 100% that it's a language in its own right, with its own structures. In fact, structures based from older West African languages. Anyway, I digress. I remember going into school as in primary school, and I think saying, it was either primary school or early secondary school, I can't remember, but I just remember having a conversation, and I said, oh, my friend must have said something to me, and I said, when since? My friend said, when since? So you mean since when? And I'm like, no, I mean when since. Because I genuinely thought that when since was, you know, it was normal parlance. It is for patois, but, you know, so as you say, it's like, and I think we've spoken about our young people, and I think for a lot of them, they don't realize that unconsciously that the identity, whether they're from Jamaica or not, the Jamaican culture and identity is permeated into their youth culture and identity. So unconsciously, they don't realize that. So I'm talking about music. You've got grand music. I'm talking about the food. Everybody love a jerk chicken. I'm talking about, you know,
the head back, the cucumber, the foot button. You understand?
Everything. I'm talking about people saying, yeah, I'm going, where are you? I'm in my yard, or wagwan, or, you know, all of these little kind of things that from our culture that have seeped into the mainstream British culture, especially youth culture, that these young people may not necessarily realize, you know, the massive impact that reggae music has had on the British cultural landscape.
Yeah, I was gonna say pop culture on a whole, just modern culture, you know, and it was a huge part of modernity. And, you know, in the 70s, when there was that huge shift and the hip movement, you know, now I'm tapping into myself as an academia, because, you know, migration was one of my majors when I did international relations. But so even for me, like when I look at my personal journey, I decided, listen, I'm not just going to after having my son, you know, I was really big on business. I was traveling a lot with work, and, you know, my transformation started at that time from kind of like the corporate business structures to more, you know, I'm going to go back. After 12 years, I decided I'm going to go back to university, right? Because a huge part of my fabric, my being, has been an advocate, right? I never actually studied the theories behind the movements of things that I saw and liked, or that connected with me. So going back, I decided, okay, I'm going to do global politics, international relations, and now I'm doing an international development master's. But the reason I bring all of this up is to say, this is the beauty of the transformation, and knowing who you are and connecting with your culture, it has knock-on effects. So it starts with culture, but it helps now to frame me. What impact do I want to make? You know, what avenues can I take? Do I have some different options? What's the importance of learning to me? You know, is there something that I don't know? And this is without having to think of any type of age. It could be a young person, it could be an older person, it could be someone who wants to change their career. Whatever stage you're in, you know, it's that importance of learning, importance of being connected to a community community with other people who are also pushing the boundaries. You know,
Yeah.
so me looking at Mary or me looking at Janelle, I can say, do you know what? I have to, Janelle, I come from tougher background than me. I'm a Janelle push. Not only can I push because Janelle is pushing, but I can also lean and leverage Janelle. And that is the beauty of the community. Do you know what I mean?
So much so. You and I are living testament to that, you know, definitely living testament to that, because our journey continues and our empowerment continues, and the kind of connection that we have, and, you know, the drive that we have continues. And you push me all the time, and I push you, and you hold me accountable, and I hold you accountable. But we don't judge each other. We're real with each other.
We really don't. It's been genuine love, like seriously, and that's why I say to people,
and I will say to you, T, you can take a day off today, but you can. Yeah? Kaz, my beautiful co-host who I've missed so much. Kaz and I have these conversations all the time, you know, where, you know, there may be moments where I'm going through something and Kaz is there to just be my cheerleader and push me, and I'm there to be her cheerleader and push her. So the fact that you spoke about being part of a community to lean and leverage, man, that is so powerful.
But Jay, only you could pull these things out of me, and you know, coming up to the live, I said it. I'm like, only Jay is gonna get me to talk about some of the things, you know. You know, normally, especially, I've been doing this kind of like advisory thing, ministry, government, whatever stuff. Right? So you know, you learn the lingo, you learn whatever.
Hold on,
right? You're gonna get the unfiltered, the undiluted. You understand the one of the something them, and you are gonna get them. You understand? You go pull them out of me, and we're just gonna have this fun exchange. But yeah, I've learned so much from you, and you've been such an asset in my life, and it cost me nothing to elevate you. It cost me nothing to lift you up. And I learned very early that people of the same ilk, of the same mind, the more you lift them up, you don't have to worry about yourself. You don't have to worry about yourself.
That is so,
people who are on tangent with you, who are going to make it who you see, whatever you can do, even if it's 1 second to help elevate them, do it as quick as you possibly can. Don't delay 1 second, because you will never have to worry about yourself. And also, don't align. There's certain things that serve you and certain things that are better put aside. And this is, again, where that cultural connection and helping to uplift your identity and knowing who you are. Everything isn't for you. Go where you are planted. Grow where you can be fertilized, and also go where you can help fertilize others. That's right.
Well, you said something, not today, but you said something in a talk, because you're a powerful speaker, and you said something in a talk recently for International Women's Month at Women's Day at the High Commission, and you said, and this came up in Dana and my live as well. You said, so Dana, this is where the quote came from. You said, don't try to be the best in the room. What's the point of being the best in the room? You need to be in a room where people are, because you've got nowhere to, if you're the best in the room, you've got nowhere to go.
If you're the smart, you need to be in your circle, then you
need to be in a room where, where people are better than you.
Somewhere where you feel done, somewhere where you feel challenged, somewhere where you feel like, boy, man, I forgot level up. Do you understand? You have to go in a space that pushes you, that forces your greatness. You know, anything worth having, anything worth becoming, became that under pressure. So you have to find your pressure. Find your pressure. That's where your purpose is birthed. Find your pressure. Your pressure will not overcome you. It's not designed to overwhelm you. It's designed to make you uncomfortable enough that it births your purpose. So you have to find your pressure to find your purpose.
Oh my gosh, just such amazing advice. Such amazing advice. We're gonna ask for some more questions. You know, Eb said being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Absolutely spot on. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. It means I'm around people I can teach sustainability around the globe. Definitely hit the nail on the head.
Kaz is uncomfortable. Come on, Kaz. Now we know we're ready for change. We're already. Everybody, I think, with this whole quarantine thing and COVID has become uncomfortable in one way or the other. You know, you have to decide, you know, whether it's in your health, whether it's in that business that you wanted to start that you never started, the book that you have written that you never completed, that task you were supposed to do that you never did. Like, everyone is faced with that man in the mirror moment to say, listen, what can I do and how can I be better? It's not just about what you're doing, because we're limited by how much we can do. The question is, how much can you be during this time?
Come on, exactly. And that mirror work is so important. You know, something again that I've been speaking about with some close people recently, just doing that self-work, and that brings me back to, you know, what we've been talking about, which is connecting with your identity. Unless you understand yourself, you can't understand anything else. Unless you love yourself, you can't give love. You can't emanate true love to anywhere else, anybody else, right? So it starts with that inner identity. You know, you mentioned about going on that journey for yourself and really discovering that. And I know, I don't know if she's still on here, but Anya, I want to big up Anya Freya, you know, somebody that I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting. She's got Go Curry TV on Insta, an amazing artist, you know, just an amazing person, really. And her story is powerful. She had Jamaican roots. She never been to Jamaica, born and raised in Australia, didn't know her roots. And you know, certain things happened in her life that encouraged her to say, do you know what, I need to discover where I'm coming from. And she went back to Jamaica, and that was probably I reckon 3 going on maybe 4 years ago. And she, not only has she flourished and bloomed and blossomed and grown, but she has contributed so much from herself to Jamaican culture in terms of her platform and what she offers, and you know, exposing the arts. I mean, she goes and discovers you know, authentic craft artists way up in the hills. I mean, she and I,
the photography and stuff like that.
Yes, dear. She and I went on a mad road trip, you know, to Portland, and we had an amazing experience. But you know, searching, really uncovering the culture and showcasing it to the world. So not only did she embrace her culture, and it was a she went there on her own. She didn't really know anything about the land. She went there on her own, and she embarked on this journey on her own and discovered.
And that's something that I want to talk about, the ferocity of our young people and not so young people, the boldness that we're able to explore more, you know, these days. And we've seen the boom in, you know, before the COVID pandemic, we were seeing the boom in the Airbnb models and stuff like that, because people wanted to engage more in what we call community tourism, right? People wanted to see the real Jamaica beyond the walls, beyond the fabric of the all-inclusive experience. They wanted to see, you know, what a waterfall was like outside of Dunn's River, you know. They wanted to discover some untapped places like Portland, as opposed to just Ochiria, you know. It doesn't discount these different places, but it just means that the appetite for the experiences had morphed beyond the limited view of what was prescribed, right? So
well, we've had those experiences. We've
discovered so much of Jamaica together.
We were just there recently, myself, you, Kaz, in over the new year and for my birthday, and each time it's a different experience. Each time it's magical, and we had the most magical experience. You know, just really embracing our culture and immersing ourselves in our culture.
Connecting with the people. Sometimes just hearing, you know, we just might hear a guy, you know, just approach us a certain kind of way, which just would not be the norm here in the UK, you know. And it's just like,
you know, there's no, when certain things happen in Jamaica, and as kind of British Jamaican, I guess I would say, you know, the words that always come to mind is only in Jamaica, because it's like only in Jamaica.
And it's knowing that, you know, most of it is harmless, you know, and it's knowing how to navigate that. And I think that's why it's so powerful what we're doing now within the movement. We are becoming the bridges between the people who may have limited interaction or not interacted at all, and us being kind of like that middle person, right? Being able to connect them and give them that true immersion, because not everybody is as bold to go and discover it by themselves. Big up Anaya, who, you know, felt no way about doing that and had, you know, experiences that are out of this world, you know what I mean? And she was able to capitalize on that, not just for herself, but also to showcase the brand, you know.
She's an influencer. She is classic. She is a key influencer in
but
terms
not
of Jamaican
everybody
culture.
might feel so confident about engaging, and that's where again the council family comes in, and being able to lean and leverage that I mentioned earlier. You're able to hold something and say, hey, let me show you what Jamaica is like, you know. And I mean, it's so beautiful. I literally light up talking about the place every single time. As you can tell,
I know.
It's a place unlike any other, and you have to go there to see it, to experience it for yourself, and to fall in love with it, you know, to connect beyond anything we've said with our words. That organic flow of vibe. It's just a rhythm. It's a rhythm. It's a rhythm that will change your life if you allow it.
Well, there's certain there's certain places on earth that have this other realm of energy, and Jamaica's one of those places. I've traveled, like yourself, I've traveled extensively, and yeah, maybe I might be a bit biased, but you know what? The energy that you get from there, it's like it's a sacred land, it's a spiritual land, and magic happens.
Yeah,
every time I'm in there, magic happens, and it happens in small ways and big ways, but it's such a beautiful, magical place, and to be able to just soak up all of that energy. And you know, one thing as well is love.
Yeah.
Let's talk about love, because you know, Jamaica gets a bad rap sometimes, and you know, a lot of negative press, and yeah, we know nowhere's perfect. All nations have their issues, and Jamaica's.
But one of our banners, Jay, is one love, right? You see, when Jamaica embrace you, that may tell you, man, say your cultural your backbone gets so broad, right? When you feel that kind of love, it engulfs you. There are no gaps in that Jamaican love when you interact with it, and when you start to feed that into the narrative you speak to yourself. People, when you start linking that to the food, when you start linking that to the music, when you start linking that to the sports, when you start linking that to the heroes and heritage stuff that I spoke of before, you know, you fall in love. You literally fall in love with the place, and you fall in love with yourself. You know,
you fall in love with yourself.
It's a part of you.
You really fall in love with yourself, and it is about that self-love and self-knowledge and self-identity. And it's something, you know, touching, just quickly touching back on the whole youth thing here. But when you come from, our culture is very different. Our culture of our heritage is very different to the culture that exists here. But we've been, you know, we've entered into the system here, we go to school here, etc., etc. And some of our natural cultural expressions that are in our DNA, it's in our blood. Sometimes, in fact, a lot of the time, we are, you know, that's seen as negative. So, you know, we may, I'll give you an example for me. When I was at school, primary school in particular, you know, I would say labeled, because that's what happens, as bossy. No, I'm a leader. That's what I am. And I know that now I'm a leader, and I'm able to lead and you know, leave a legacy. So yeah, you know,
it's reframing the conversation, isn't it? It's reframing the conversation, the narrative, rephrasing what we call in studies the buzzwords, right? Sometimes we get labeled as aggressive, right? Different things. It's rephrasing that you are passionate, you are you know, you care about something, you're assertive, you know, and nothing's wrong with having these traits. It's feeling comfortable in, you know, who you are and what you bring to the table and the way you express it. Now, we have to learn different ways of communication and stuff like that, but it should not deduce your value or what you bring to the table.
That's right.
So I can't see you very well, Jay. I'm not sure if you can.
I know. I just heard that my screen is pretty. I don't know what's happening. Sorry, guys.
We can
give me a minute. Well. In the meantime, while I try to sort out my screen, you guys can ask questions, please. We've got a few minutes left, so we're quite open to your questions. So anything you want to ask Tanesha, who is the global, you know, youth
Jamaica Diaspora. The name long. it long.
Man, this one has so many titles. But please, ask away. I'm going to rub my screen. My screen is freezing. Why? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. See, you're coming into focus now. Woo, woo.
Is that better?
It's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, good. So, guys, please feel free to ask your questions. Ebs, I need you. Ebs, Miss Tech, I need you, Ebony.
Listen, they said some stuff before, so I just have to go fast. Man, fast, everybody.
All right, because we've got literally 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
What should we be looking forward to?
Timing, man.
Listen, when me and you chat, it's worries, you know.
Yeah.
So Sustainability Around the Globe has said, what should we be looking forward to from the Global Youth Council? So T, that's one for you.
So so much amazing things. As I said, right now you can go over to Global JA Youth. You can engage with any of our campaigns that are going on right now. It's part of the Quarantine with a Purpose. We have Motivational Monday, Workout Wednesday, Foodie Friday, Sit Down Saturday. Like literally every day we have something going on. And for those interested in events, policy, projects, those types of stuff, email us info@globaljayouth.com. We have got an event coming up which will link more to our objectives. Some changes that we want to impact on that level. As I said, there's a lot of injustice going on. We do have some advocacy efforts that are being implemented right now, and they're sensitive issues. I don't want to talk about it, but if you have an interest in that regard, by all means, you can reach out. Of course, we have.
What about parents as well? What about because some parents might be watching this and think, yeah, I'd love my kid to get involved.
Again, info@globaljayouth.com, or go over to our Insta page. You're already on Instagram. Just go to Global JA Youth. You can sign up right there and then. It's just one click. Find out some more information about it. You can contact me personally at southuk@globaljayouth.com. southuk@globaljayouth.com. So many exciting things going on. You
guys have done so many exciting things. I mean,
oh my God. We had our community outreach. Let me talk about that real quick. In the we had our COVID community outreach, which was fantastic. We were able to help some displaced people. We know COVID disrupted a lot of migration patterns and so forth. A lot of people were here who perhaps only decided to come for a short journey. They got displaced, stranded, whichever word you prefer, and we were able to assist them with gift vouchers. We were also able to give them some food in different areas. You
put on the concert, guys. You helped put on the concert.
Oh my God, we raised over 50 million Jamaican dollars with a global concert, which we call a telethon. The young people again were instrumental in that, and that was for PPE equipment in Jamaica. So we're helping in Jamaica via the concert, or we helped in Jamaica via the concert and being part of that planning team. And we also assisted people right here where we are, as well as in the US and different parts of the world, but that was through our COVID community outreach. So we're making practical changes. We're engaging people online. We're connecting with people and, helping people back home. And we've also got an event that's going to challenge us more on the policy level and interact with our intellectual capacity. So there's a lot going on.
And if people want to know a bit more about you, Tanesha, because you, as I say, you're just a phenomenon. So how can they find out? What's your social media handles? Please let us know.
My name, Tanesha.
Thanks, Sheila. The concert was excellent, by the way.
Thank you. Blessings. Tanesha Westcarr on every platform. Twitter, Instagram, TANESHAWESTCARR.
Just Google her, guys.
Right? Google her. TaneshaWestcarr.com. That's it. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
It's always a blessing catching up with you. As I say, you are one of the brightest lights in my life. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out to share with us today. We touched on some really, really important points here. I hope you guys watching have got some, great advice and snippets from what we've discussed here. I hope, you were inspired, because that's what we're here to do. We're a platform to inspire. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. And we will be back live with you guys very soon. So guys, please stay blessed, stay safe.
You.
And in peace, love, and blessing.
Alexander would say, Tana your yard.
Tana your yard. Love you.
Love you, baby.
Bye-bye.
Take care.